midday so you guys can get an understanding of what's happening here. So we broke out right above this level, right? Closed above it, opened here, and now we're just resting right on it. So if you look at this is the S&P. So if you just look at what's going on here, nothing's broken. We're just sitting there. There's nothing to do here. Our opinion has not changed on it. It's just, we're selling off a little bit today. So let's just run through them very quickly here. This I do think is getting somewhat toppy, and I do think we could come back down, and it's one of the reasons why I haven't really put on a TNA trade. I am long TQQ. But if you look at what's going on here, I'm just going to move this out of the way so we can get a better look at it. If we close here, we have a bearish engulfing. With where this bar is, this gap, and what we've moved in an index, these are respected a lot more. So keep that in mind, and we could sell down to this 201 level, and it's not really that big a deal, but that's where it looks like we could head to, retest the 5, and this is possible, but I don't see it. But I do think we continue to sell down on the IWM, and it's one of the reasons why I didn't recommend going long TNA. So we'll see how that plays out. QQQ, we broke out finally, and we're just sitting there. Right where we opened and closed, nothing. And it's still a gap above the close yesterday and the high yesterday. So nothing's broken here. There is a channel here, and we do respect channels more in indexes than in stocks, but nothing's broken. There's nothing to do. Let's run through some of our ideas and some of the ones I'm getting questions on. So Roku, we entered, I think we entered right about here, right? Still trying to get used to the software, bear with me. So we entered right around here, 337. Stated to add to any pullbacks that happened here. The pullbacks didn't happen, so that was a moot point. We had some news today about some global content, and you can see how the stock's reacting. So I recommended that we trim probably, I think, a 395. I probably would have stated it somewhere around there. So let's just get that accurate. So there, I did state the trim there, and I think it's prudent when you have a stock that is up 20% in 3 days. So you take a little bit off, and then if it comes back down, you have some money to move around with. And then you're not sweating it as much because you know where you're at. Our stops of 352 are going to be moved up. They're probably going to be moved to the 363.44 level. If we break that, it's a failed breakout. So keep that in mind, but I'll put that in the newsletter. And before I forget, consider subscribing and putting notifications on here, because we're going to start doing more and more of these and start making them a little more timely. So the response to them has been fairly good, so I'd like to keep doing them. So net, what's happened to us so far? We rallied through, everybody got giddy, and now we're closing right below this key level. And we're here right now. I don't see this as anything broken. You could argue this. Isn't that funny how that works? So you could argue this, and a push through that probably does ignite us. But we're just having a sell-off of a day. You have to realize we've gone from 70 to 82 in 3 days. So nothing's broken here, nothing to do. Stay with the position. FNGU, our target, we're in from 231. Our first target was 280. We hit that. We recommended buying more at the 282 level. We broke out today, hitting highs. I don't see an issue here. We have a nice little gap. We're fine. There's nothing here that concerns me. Obviously, I like green better, but it is what it is. GRWG, I got a bunch of calls today on this one going, hey, is this the time to buy it? No. this is the time to wait for it to set up again. So if you did get stopped out or you're out of it for some reason, or you just never got in it, this is not where you want to get in. There's a lot here that's telling you that we could come back down to this level. And that's not the worst thing in the world for people that are in at $35. It's just that could happen. So let's see what happens. Let's wait for it to set back up, and then we'll get to it. NIO all over the place today, as I expected. I expect this to whip around all day today. We have the NIO day, I believe it's tomorrow, and they are ahead of us time-wise. But we're resting right at the 57 and a quarter, which is the breakout level. Going into the event, I truly don't see a reason to do anything. I even added to the position. So, on that break, it looks very technical. Here's your cup. So you can see it. Hopefully you can see it, right? But hopefully you can see what's going on here. If you can't see this cup, please let me know. But you can see this going from here. All right, and then what we have going on is we're probably going to have to move this stop up. The target's been achieved. I did recommend for some people to consider your 48 stock. There's nothing wrong with selling some of it here. Everybody trades differently, but there's nothing wrong with locking in a gain because I have no idea how Battery Day is going to go or whatever NIO calls their day. We're only just speculating on what's going to happen there. FCX 27, I believe we're in at. And we should probably look at the monthly. So, here's the monthly. This thing's on fire. We're going to 38. There's no way that we're not going to 38. So, let's see what happens here. But I think we're in good shape. So this was one that I threw out on Twitter yesterday. I actually wanted to make it a buy alert, and it just moved too fast. I am working on trying to figure out a delivery system that's instantaneous with just quick buy alerts. And there's a reason I just don't want to do it and blast it on Twitter. And I'm trying to keep it a little more low profile. So I'm working on that. But what we see here is just a massive breakout on an enormous volume. Even today, we're pulling back a little bit, and we'll look at the daily. We're pulling back to support levels. We opened here, we broke above this support level, or we broke above this resistance. Resistance becomes support. Closing here on the day, considering the massive move, it's not that bad. So, see how it plays out a little bit. The majority of it at this point, I'm out of. I sold into this, but I did keep some runners just to see what happens. But overall, it's constructive. You're hitting new highs. So let's see what happens with it. This is setting up and getting close to being put on the newsletter. I like this. Today's reaction was fairly negative on the 21 day, so I just didn't put it on yet. But I do like this pattern that's developing. But we do have some, overhead resistance right here coming in. So, there's a couple levels here. If you want to be more conservative, you can wait till the 28 and a quarter. But let's see what happens here. I think that this is going to wind up moving. We started with a great boomerang effect off of here. And now we've undercut support again at 36.47. So there's really nothing to do here. Watch and wait and see if we get another shot. Opening at the 21 day and then just pulling right back, it's not the best thing in the world. So let's just see how we act and go from there. CELH looks like it's going to continue to push. And again, we hit a new high and we're above all this. So I think we look great there. There's really nothing to do. We trimmed here and just sit with it. This is getting interesting. New York, what's coming out of there, if they're going to do gambling, not do gambling, seems to be a lot of indecision by the government there. But we rallied up, we broke this wedge, rallied through it, and then when everyone started reading this statement, realized hey, they might not do that. So they might just do it through the state. So then we have this, and we sell down, and then they reiterate, well, we might take 14 apps. So then we go back up. So right now, this is being news driven, and because it's solely being news driven, I would avoid it. I would avoid it until we get to a position where we have some level of confirmation on what's truly going to happen here, because there's a lot of overhang here, right? I mean, there's just a ton of overhang here. You can see it. So I'm buying here to test the yearly downtrend. There's no reason to. So I need to see this develop a little bit more. So that's it. Any questions? Just